Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing force majeure, and we are discussing it in the context of this coronavirus phenomenon that we're experiencing, this pandemic as the WHO is calling it, and how force majeure plays into sort of the business aspects of sort of navigating this crisis, frankly. So let's go ahead and start off. What is force majeure? Well, for those who are unaware, and this video is going to be very simplified. I'm not going to get super detailed into this. I just want this to act as a sort of primer for those who are curious about these concerns, because I think businesses small and large are going to have substantial force majeure issues arising from this coronavirus. But for lack of a better term, in sort of the common law tradition, and for that matter, it's my understanding the civil law tradition, it's basically akin to sort of act of God. Unforeseen circumstances that could not, again, not to be redundant, but were not reasonably foreseeable, that arise through no fault of any of the parties, but just, again, a meteorite hitting the earth is force majeure. COVID-19, this pandemic that no one saw coming, that's a pretty good example of something that's sort of an act of God, for lack of a better term. Now, certain kinds of contracts, for example, labor contracts or sale and purchase agreements, service contracts, maybe even real estate contracts, could have something akin to a force majeure clause. I don't think a real estate contract in this context is particularly pertinent, because I don't really see how COVID-19 would have an impact on a real estate contract. Although, if it precluded somebody from specific performance of an obligation under the real estate contract, for example, paying off the rest of an obligation created under a contract, for example, to purchase something, and the person is bankrupted due to costs incurred by COVID-19, or just unable to get to Thailand due to not being able to travel into Thailand to make provisions for a purchase, I could see where maybe force majeure might apply. I specifically see this coming up a lot in a labor context, where people had to be summarily dismissed, and they were dismissed because of unforeseen circumstances arising from COVID-19. You could argue that may or may not be force majeure. Now, it's going to be circumstantially dependent, and force majeure is going to depend on the given case, how you use it, where it applies. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of that in this video. But the thing I do want to get into with this video is that force majeure may be useful under certain circumstances, and it may not. Again, it's probably a good idea to get in contact with a legal professional to have the specific circumstances of a given case duly analyzed before just presuming that force majeure will apply and absolve someone of an obligation, or mitigate damages as a result of an obligation, or a failed obligation, or an obligation that was not met. The thing to take away from this video is it's not a cure-all necessarily, force majeure. For example, in Thailand, there's a Thai labor code, and there are labor courts, and those labor courts operate very differently than anything we're used to, at least in the United States. They operate very differently than oftentimes the other courts of Thailand. So the thing to keep in mind with respect to this video is force majeure, although it may be useful in a legal context in Thailand, it is not a, for lack of a better term, cure-all with respect to damages arising from breach of contract, just because a possible force majeure event happened, for example, COVID-19. So good advice, contact a legal professional in order to ascertain the specifics of your situation with respect to force majeure and the complications arising from coronavirus, aka COVID-19.